Football is unpredictable. That is precisely why we love it. On the world's biggest stage, the FIFA World Cup, the script is sometimes torn up completely. Giant nations are humbled. Unknown teams write their names into history, and millions of people around the world stop breathing. These are the 10 most shocking upsets in World Cup history. Moments when football reminded us that no result is ever guaranteed and no giant is truly safe. Number 10. Algeria versus West Germany. 1982. West Germany was the reigning European champion. Algeria were making their first ever World Cup appearance. Rabah Majer put Algeria ahead in the 54th minute. Lakhdar Belloumi struck the winner with 12 minutes remaining. Algeria had beaten the European champions. It was the first time an African team had ever defeated a major European football power at the World Cup. The result shook the tournament to its foundations. And then, days later, West Germany and Austria played a suspicious 1-0 result that conveniently eliminated Algeria. The outrage that followed changed football forever. FIFA made all final group games kick off simultaneously from that tournament forward. Number 9. South Africa versus France. 2010. France were former world champions and former European champions. They had a ranking of 9th in the world. South Africa was 74th. But France had completely collapsed. Their squad was in open revolt against the manager. Players refused to train. Senior stars mutinied publicly. Against this backdrop of total dysfunction, tournament hosts South Africa won 2-1 through goals from Bongani Khumalo and Katlego Mfela. France was reduced to 10 men. The defending continent's honor was in tatters. The reigning world champions could not qualify from a group on their own continent, a ranking gap of 74 places, one of football's most embarrassing exits. Number 8. South Korea versus Germany. 2018. Germany was the reigning world champion. No defending champion had ever been eliminated in the group stage since France in 2002. Germany lost their opener to Mexico, scraped past Sweden, and arrived at their final group game needing a win against South Korea, already eliminated and playing purely for pride. Germany dominated all match and could not score. South Korea broke twice in injury time. Kim Young-gwan. Then Son Heung-min. 2 goals. 93 minutes of suffering. The world champions were going home. And across Mexico City, Mexican fans, who had qualified as a result, were dancing in the streets. Number 7. Japan versus Germany and Spain. 2022. No team in World Cup history had ever beaten both Germany and Spain in the same tournament. Japan did it in Qatar within the space of 8 days. Against Germany, they came from behind in the second half. Against Spain, they fell behind again and came back again. The same script, the same result. 2 of the most decorated football nations on earth eliminated from the same group by the same team. Japan's tactical courage and second-half intensity rewrote what anyone believed was possible at a World Cup. Number 6. Bulgaria versus Germany. 1994. Germany were the top-ranked team in the world and the defending world champions. Bulgaria had never won a single World Cup knockout match in their entire history. Germany took the lead through Lothar Matthäus from the penalty spot. Then Hristo Stoichkov equalized. Then Jordan Lechkov soared above the German defense to head a spectacular winner. The world's number 1 team was going home in the quarterfinals. Stoichkov finished the tournament with 6 goals and won the 1994 Ballon d'Or Bulgaria, who had never won a knockout game. Before that tournament went on to finish 4th. Number 5. North Korea versus Italy. 1966. Italy was a 2-time world champion. North Korea were making their first World Cup appearance, and most people in England, and indeed the world, Riri had never heard of them. Paduik, a military dentist who played football part-time, struck 3 minutes before halftime. Italy were reduced to 10 men by injury, as substitutions were not yet permitted. North Korea held on. Two-time champions Italy was eliminated. When the Italian squad, when he returned home, fans threw rotten tomatoes and eggs at the airport. Get the match ticket for that game now sits in the FIFA Football Museum in Zurich. No Asian team had ever passed the first round of the World Cup before. Number 4. Cameroon versus Argentina, 1990. Argentina were the reigning world champions. Diego Maradona was at his peak. Cameroon were making only their second World Cup appearance. 2 Cameroonian players were sent off during the match. For most of the second half, Cameroon played with 9 men. It did not matter. Francois Omambiek's header in the 67th minute proved to be the only goal of the game. The 9-man Cameroon side beat the reigning world champions. They went on to reach the quarterfinals. The first African nation ever to achieve that. The Lions of Indomitable had announced Africa football to the world. Number 3. Brazil versus Germany, 2014. Brazil were playing a World Cup semi-final on home soil in front of their own supporters. Germany were formidable, but Brazil had the crowd, the momentum, and the history. Germany scored 4 goals in 6 minutes between the 23rd and 29th minutes of the match. By halftime, it was 5-0. Brazil, 5-time world champions, playing at home in a World Cup semi-final, were losing by 5 goals. The final score was 7-1. In Brazil, they called it the Mineirazo. Brazilian players wept on the pitch. Fans wept in the stands. It was Brazil's heaviest defeat since 1920 and the largest winning margin ever recorded in a World Cup semi-final. Germany went on to lift the trophy. Number 2. Saudi Arabia versus Argentina, 2022. Argentina had gone 36 matches unbeaten. They were co-favorites for the World Cup. Lionel Messi had scored a penalty, and Argentina had 3. Further goals were disallowed. Saudi Arabia were ranked 51st in the world and given odds of 1,000-1 to win the tournament. Saleh Al-Shehri equalized early in the second half. Then Salem Al-Dawsari struck one of the finest goals of the entire tournament. A curling, thunderous strike into the top corner. Argentina could not recover. Data firm Gracenote, which statistically measures expected match outcomes, rated Saudi Arabia's victory as the single most surprising result in the entire history of the World Cup. Argentina went on to win the trophy, which makes what happened in that match even more remarkable. And at number 1, the greatest upset in football history, USA versus England, 1950. England had invented football. They were making their first ever World Cup appearance, having spent years considering the tournament beneath them. They arrived in Brazil as overwhelming favorites. The American squad was a collection of part-time footballers who included a postman, a dishwasher, and a school teacher. Joe Gaetjens threw himself at a cross in the 37th minute and deflected it into the English net. 1-0 to the United States. England battered the American goal for the remaining 53 minutes. They could not equalize. The final whistle blew. The result was so extraordinary that British newspapers initially refused to print it, assuming the telegram carrying the score contained a typo. Some printed it as a 1-0 England win. The inventor of football had been beaten by a team of part-timers who had trained together for one day. It remains the greatest upset the world Cup has ever seen. Every match on this list was impossible. Every result was, until that final whistle blew, unthinkable. And yet all of them happened. The 2026 World Cup is still being written. The next great shock could be 90 minutes away. That is football. And that is precisely why we watch.